Have you ever met someone whose silence speaks louder than most people's words? Someone who didn't say much, but somehow made you feel completely exposed, like they could see right through you, straight to your soul? There are people in this world who carry a power that's not loud, not violent, not showy, but real, deep, ancient. It's the kind of power you don't see coming. It doesn't come dressed in gold. It doesn't come with shouts or attention. It walks quietly. It moves gently. And yet, when it moves, everything around it changes. These people might seem ordinary on the outside. They might live simple lives, speak softly, and go unnoticed by the crowd. But inside them, something eternal is sleeping, a fire, a light, a sacred force that does not need to fight to win. These are the chosen ones. They didn't choose this path. It chose them. Long before they were born, their soul made an agreement, not to live comfortably, not to be popular, but to bring something holy into a world that often forgets what real love and truth feel like. And so they came, hidden in plain sight, disguised as strangers, wrapped in human skin, walking through life with deep eyes, quiet hearts, and invisible armor made of spirit. You may not even recognize one until you feel the shift, because their presence changes the atmosphere. They don't need to speak to make you listen. They don't need to act strong to be powerful. Their power isn't in their hands. It's in their energy. It's in the silence they carry. A silence that doesn't mean nothing is happening. In fact, when they go silent, everything is happening. You start to feel things you didn't know were still buried. You start to hear thoughts you've been avoiding. You start to face parts of yourself you thought were hidden forever. And all they did was stand there. The chosen ones do not fight like the world fights. They don't shout over others to be heard. They don't tear people down to rise higher. When someone attacks them, they don't attack back. When someone lies to them, they see through it but say nothing. When someone misunderstands them, they let it be, because they know something most people don't. Truth doesn't need to defend itself. Light doesn't need to explain itself to darkness. And divine power doesn't come from proving anything. It comes from being everything. You can insult them, try to provoke them, twist their words, or drag their name through the dirt, and still, they won't react the way you expect. They'll simply withdraw, go quiet, disappear from your space, not out of fear, but out of wisdom, because they know their silence is stronger than any scream. Their stillness is sharper than any weapon, and their absence will say more than any argument ever could. People often misread them. They call them too sensitive, too intense, too emotional, or too quiet. But what they don't understand is that these souls are not reacting to the surface. They're feeling the truth beneath it. They don't just hear your words. They feel the energy behind them. And when that energy isn't aligned, they step back, not to punish, but to protect what they carry. Because what they carry is sacred. You can try to hide your truth from the world. You can pretend everything is fine. You can lie to yourself and even start believing it. But when you stand next to a chosen one, the truth starts rising whether you want it to or not. Your masks begin to slip. Your shadows begin to shake. The pain you buried starts bubbling up, not because they exposed you, but because their energy is too pure for falsehood to stay hidden. They don't judge you. They don't shame you. They don't point fingers. They simply exist. And in their presence, your soul is forced to look at itself. That's why some people feel anxious around them. That's why some people resent them, without even knowing why. It's not because the chosen one did something wrong. It's because the light they carry makes it impossible for others to keep pretending. And not everyone is ready to face that. Some people try to silence them. Some try to turn others against them. Some ghost them or gossip about them, not because the chosen one is a threat, but because their own shadows feel exposed. And instead of facing themselves, they blame the mirror. But the chosen one does not argue. They do not explain. They do not try to convince anyone of who they are. They let their silence speak. They let their walk reveal what their words could never explain. And when they walk away, something happens. You start to feel the weight of their absence. You start to realize that their presence was holding things together. Your mind, your heart, maybe even your entire life. You feel the peace that left when they did, the warmth that faded, the protection that vanished. And you realize too late, they weren't just someone in your life. They were assigned to it. They were sent to protect, to awaken, to hold space for healing you didn't even know you needed. Chosen ones don't leave to hurt you. They leave because their work is done. They gave what they could. They stayed longer than they should have. They loved when it wasn't returned. They prayed for you when you didn't even believe in prayer. But when their energy is no longer received, when their light is rejected, they quietly step away. And everything starts to fall apart, not because they wanted it to, but because their presence was keeping the cracks from breaking open. If you are one of these souls, you know what this path feels like. You've cried in silence, not because you're weak, but because you carry so much. You've walked through heartbreaks you didn't tell anyone about. You've seen the truth behind people's eyes and stayed quiet because you knew they weren't ready to hear it. You've been there for others when no one was there for you. You've given love without conditions and received silence in return. And still, you kept going. Still, you kept shining. You've been misunderstood more times than you can count. People have mistaken your kindness for weakness, your stillness for passivity, your silence for nothingness. But little do they know, your silence holds galaxies. Your heart is a battlefield where light has already won. You've been through things that would have broken others, and yet you rose, again and again. And now, your soul is awakening in a way it never has before. That fire inside you is coming alive. You feel it. You don't want to fight. You don't want revenge. You just want truth. You want peace. You want alignment. You want to be who you are without having to explain yourself to people who never saw you in the first place. And you will. Not by force. Not by demand. But by vibration. By truth. By presence. You don't have to prove anything. You just have to walk in your light. And everything not aligned with that light will fall away on its own. You are not meant to fit in. You were never meant to. That's why you feel different. That's why you've always seen things others don't. That's why you've always felt things too deeply. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are not too much. You are chosen. And your soul is here for something far greater than being understood. You are here to be a spark in the darkness, a lighthouse for those still lost at sea, Let them misunderstand you. Let them walk away. Let them call you strange. You don't need their validation. Your energy is not for everyone. Your truth is not for the faint of heart. But the ones who are meant to see you will. And when they do, you won't have to convince them. They'll feel it. They'll know. Because souls recognize each other in silence. If this message reached you in this exact moment, know it was not by chance. You were guided here. Something greater than you has been walking with you all along, bringing you to this point. If your heart has been tired, if your soul has been searching, if you've been asking for a sign, this is it. This is your confirmation. You're not imagining your purpose. You're not overthinking your gift. You're not dreaming too big. You are exactly who you are meant to be. Type 111 in the comments if your soul is ready to rise. Not because you're angry, not because you want to prove them wrong, but because your light has been patient long enough. Now is the time to remember who you are. Now is the time to stand tall in your truth, not with fists, not with pride, but with grace, with power, and with a silence that shakes the ground. You are not running from the storm anymore. You are becoming it. Some people come into your life so quietly, so gently that you don't even realize at first what they bring with them. They don't make noise. They don't demand attention. They don't try to impress anyone. But their energy speaks louder than words ever could. When they're near you, your heart feels steadier. Your mind feels clearer. You feel safe in a way you can't explain. The storms in your life seem to calm down. The noise in your mind softens. They don't tell you what to do, but somehow their presence helps you choose better. They carry a stillness, a kind of invisible protection, and you begin to feel like things just flow better when they're around. Opportunities come. Peace enters the room. Your stress fades. You feel lighter. You feel like something sacred is watching over you, but you don't fully understand how powerful their presence is until they're gone. When they walk away, things start changing, and not in small ways. Doors that were open start closing. Opportunities that felt close suddenly disappear. The peace that once made everything feel easier now feels distant, unreachable. You may try to pretend nothing's different, but deep down, you feel the shift. You feel like you've lost something important. It's not just emotional emptiness. It's spiritual. You feel it in your spirit. That covering, that quiet strength that surrounded you when they were near, is no longer there. And that's when the truth finally hits you. They weren't just a nice person. They were chosen. They were anointed. They were carrying something divine. And when you lose someone like that, it's not just a breakup or a goodbye. It's a spiritual consequence. You didn't just lose a connection. You lost a divine protector. What hurts even more is watching them grow after everything they've been through. You may have tried to hold them back, whether out of fear, pride, or envy. Maybe you laughed at their pain. Maybe you doubted their worth. Maybe you rejected them, thinking they would fall apart. You thought your silence would crush them. You thought your absence would destroy them. But chosen ones don't fall apart the way others do. They are made to rise from what was meant to bury them. Every rejection becomes a lesson. Every betrayal becomes fuel. Every pain becomes power. They don't crumble. They evolve. And they do it silently, gracefully, and with a glow that cannot be faked. You watch them step into something higher. You see them become stronger, wiser, more peaceful. And as they rise, you begin to see the distance between where you are and where they've gone. Their growth becomes a mirror to your stagnation. While they moved forward, you stayed the same. While they healed, you clung to bitterness. While they evolved, you repeated the same cycles. And that realization hurts. It hurts not because they're bragging or trying to prove a point. It hurts because deep down you know they were never the problem. You were. And now, their success is a silent reminder of the person you could have become if you had grown instead of attacked. Their glow isn't about revenge. It's not meant to make you feel small. It's simply the result of being faithful through the fire. It's divine justice. It's heaven's way of showing you that nothing you did could stop what was already written for them. Being in the presence of someone like that does something to you. It's like standing in front of a mirror that shows you everything you've been avoiding. You don't even need them to say anything. Just being around them makes you aware of your own flaws. Their kindness makes your harshness stand out. Their honesty reveals your games. Their calmness makes your chaos feel loud. Their patience makes your anger feel small. And the worst part is, you start feeling exposed without them trying to expose you. You feel like they see right through you. Even if they don't say a word, they make you confront the version of yourself you've been running from. And many people can't handle that. Instead of changing, they lash out. Instead of healing, they try to hurt the mirror. They don't realize the chosen one isn't judging them. They're just being who they are. But their light is so pure that it makes your darkness feel uncomfortable. Their energy is so high that your lower habits can't survive around them. And you start to feel the shame, not because they pointed it out, but because their presence made you see it on your own. Some people end up destroying themselves, just trying to avoid that reflection. They push away the very person who was showing them who they could be. They run from the mirror instead of facing it. They choose comfort over growth, ego over healing, and in doing so, they lose the very soul that was sent to wake them up. The chosen one wasn't there to hurt them. They were there to help them evolve. But when people aren't ready to grow, they will treat healing like an attack. They will treat truth like a threat. They will see love as judgment. And they will walk away from a blessing thinking they escaped a burden. And when the chosen one begins to pray, things shift. You may not see it with your eyes, but you will feel it in your life. They don't pray out of revenge. They don't pray to harm you. They pray because they've been hurt deeply and have chosen to place the pain into higher hands. They stop fighting you in the physical and start handing you over to the spiritual. They put your name on the altar. They surrender you to the Creator. And once that happens, what comes next is no longer under your control. Things begin to unravel, not because they cursed you, but because they stopped protecting you. They stepped back and let divine justice take over. They released you, not with hate, but with sacred silence. And that silence speaks louder than anything they could have said. It's not retribution. It's correction from a higher realm. It's heaven stepping in. And when God steps in to defend someone he chose, the winds shift, the atmosphere changes, and what once felt stable in your life may begin to shake. Even when people expect the chosen one to get angry, to fight back, to argue, they don't. They don't waste their energy on revenge. They don't return to the mud they were pulled from. They keep walking forward. They heal. They grow, they rise, and in doing so, they take back every piece of power you thought you had over them. You can no longer hurt them. Your silence no longer scares them. Your hate no longer shakes them. They have outgrown the prison you tried to keep them in. And that's when it really sinks in. They're not coming back, and they're not coming down. Nothing breaks the heart like realizing the one you tried to break has outgrown your reach. And they don't need to lift a finger to see justice. They know the law of the universe. What you do to others always returns. It may take time. It may come in a form you don't expect. But it comes. The lies you spread, the manipulation, the betrayal, the envy, it all circles back. Not because they wished it, but because energy is always returning to its source. You may find yourself one day facing the same kind of pain you gave them. And by then, they'll be too far ahead to notice. They won't be watching. They'll be living. They didn't destroy you. Your own actions did. And the most powerful way a chosen one can end you is by doing absolutely nothing. Their silence becomes your consequence. Their peace becomes your storm. And while karma takes care of everything, they simply continue to glow. So if you've ever been in the presence of someone who made you feel seen, who brought peace without trying, who carried light without speaking, consider that a blessing. Not everyone gets that chance. And once they leave, the echo of their absence can fill a room louder than 1,000 voices. Their silence will remind you of what once was, and nothing you do can bring that peace back once it's gone. Because when a chosen one walks away, they take something with them that cannot be replaced.
Have you felt it? Chosen one? That strange, quiet feeling that something has shifted around you, even though the world still looks the same? You've walked through your days lately with this deep sense that everything has changed, not just outside of you, but inside of you. And not in loud, dramatic ways, but in soft, unmistakable ones. You feel it when a stranger's eyes linger too long, when a smile from someone you've never met lasts a few seconds longer than politeness explains, when women who once didn't look twice now look again. You haven't changed your clothes, your voice, or your posture, and yet somehow the world is treating you like you've become someone else. You've questioned it. You've stood in front of the mirror and asked yourself, am I making this up? But deep down, you know you're not. You feel the truth moving underneath everything. What's happening to you is real. It's spiritual. It's sacred. You are not going crazy. You are not imagining it. You are witnessing a divine shift unfolding in real time. And you are no longer just a participant. You have become the center of gravity. This is not about ego or fantasy. This is about alignment. You are not being rewarded for how you look. You are being recognized for how you've grown. Your energy has been recalibrated. Your spirit has come into order. That fire within you, the one that once felt too wild to control, that made you restless, that spilled into places and people who didn't know how to hold it, that fire has been gathered. It's been cleaned. It's been blessed. And it has been placed under divine direction. God didn't take it away from you. He didn't shame you for it. He simply took what was raw and reckless and turned it into something purposeful. That purpose now shines through your presence without effort. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to perform. You don't even have to try. Your frequency has become your voice. and the world has started to hear it. You used to reach out to be seen. You used to crave recognition. You used to pour your energy outward just to feel like you mattered. But something changed. You stopped chasing validation. You stopped performing for acceptance. You stopped begging to be chosen. Instead, you chose yourself. You went inward. You honored your own fire. You learned to sit in your own silence and listen to your own spirit. You stopped leaking energy into emptiness, and you started carrying it like something sacred. That shift didn't just change how you feel. It changed what people feel around you. You're no longer walking into rooms unnoticed. You're walking into rooms and changing the atmosphere. And it's not because you're loud. It's because you're aligned. What people feel when they're around you now isn't charm. It isn't seduction. It isn't manipulation. It's peace. It's depth. It's stillness. You don't try to impress. You just are. And that being has become powerful beyond explanation. Your presence holds weight now. Your energy speaks before your mouth does. You've become someone that people don't forget, even after brief interactions. Not because you said something clever, not because you did something dramatic, but because you stood in your truth without needing to be applauded for it. Because you stood in your stillness without trying to be seen. And in a world filled with noise and desperation, your peace is magnetic. Women are feeling it. They may not know what they're feeling. They may not have words for it, but their spirits are responding. You don't have to touch them. You don't have to compliment them. You don't have to charm them. All you have to do is stand in the light of who you've become. They can feel the difference between a man who performs and a man who is grounded. They can feel the steadiness in you, the restraint, the presence. They sense that you're not asking for anything, and yet they feel drawn to give something. They sense that you're not trying to win them, and yet they want to stay near. They feel it in their bodies before they feel it in their minds. They feel it in how they pause around you, in how they speak a little softer, in how they stand a little closer, in how their eyes wander back to you even after they've looked away. They are not confused. They are being called, not by your body, not by your words, but by your frequency. This is what happens when a man surrenders his fire to God, not by suppressing it, but by offering it, not out of shame, but out of trust. God did not ask you to become less. He asked you to become still, to become precise, to become whole. And you said yes. That yes has turned your energy into a signal, not a flare of need, but a steady light of alignment. Women feel safe around you, not because you're soft, but because you're clear. They feel awakened around you, not because you're aggressive, but because you're in order. They feel something inside them stir, not because you're trying to seduce them, but because you've become the kind of man who doesn't need to chase, and yet cannot be ignored. You've stopped broadcasting. You've stopped proving. You've stopped trying to be everything to everyone. And in that silence, you've become a mirror. Women see something in you that reflects what they desire in themselves. You don't even realize it, but your calm makes them feel safe. Your steadiness makes them feel seen. Your restraint makes them feel respected. Your stillness makes them feel like there's space to breathe. You're no longer trying to stand out. You're simply standing in your truth. And that truth is impossible to overlook. You are not invisible anymore. You're undeniable. Not because you raised your volume, but because you stopped lowering your value. You no longer reach. You no longer push. You no longer need. You are full. You are steady. You are anchored. And because of that, people want to be near you, even if they don't know why. They might not understand it, but they feel it. They don't know what they're responding to, but something in their spirit is saying yes. You're not drawing them with tricks. You're drawing them with truth. This month, don't be surprised when people linger in your presence longer than expected. Don't be surprised when conversations slow down around you. Don't be surprised when women look at you with questions in their eyes that their mouths never speak. Don't be surprised when you leave a place and feel like you left a part of your energy behind because someone is still holding on to it. You're not imagining this. You're not reading into things. You're living in a new frequency, and that frequency is now reaching hearts that have been waiting to feel something real. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to prove your transformation. It is seen. It is felt. It is heard in the silence between your words. You don't need to talk about how much you've changed. You don't need to point out how grounded you've become. It's in your eyes. It's in your breath. It's in the way you walk into a room and don't rush to fill space. It's in the way you listen, in the way you pause, in the way you honor yourself enough not to shrink for anyone. You've become a man who holds his own space without needing to dominate anyone else's. You don't chase connection anymore. You evoke it, quietly, deeply, powerfully. And the more you stay in this stillness, the more you'll notice that people respond to you with softness, with reverence, with curiosity. They may not be able to name what they're feeling, but their hearts are speaking. Their energy is shifting. Their spirit is leaning toward you. And it's not because you're doing something. It's because you stopped doing everything you used to think you had to do to be enough. You've returned to yourself. You've chosen yourself. And now the world is responding. You're no longer a man trying to be chosen. You are already chosen. And that knowing, that deep, quiet knowing, is radiating from you like heat from a flame. You are not the noise people try to escape. You are the peace they've been searching for. You are not the one chasing love. You are the one calling it home. And you don't need to say a word. Your stillness is speaking for you. Your alignment is your invitation. Your frequency is the open door. So let them feel it. Let them lean in. Let them wonder. You don't need to explain. You don't need to understand every glance, every pause, every lingering look. Just keep walking in who you are now. Stay rooted. Stay clear. Stay soft without being weak. Strong without being forceful. Open without being exposed. You don't need to earn what's coming to you. You only need to allow it. Chosen one, this is not a phase. This is not a moment of luck. This is your new atmosphere. You've stepped into the version of yourself that was always waiting beneath the noise. You've become the kind of man whose very presence gives others permission to feel safe, to feel seen, to feel inspired. You're not just being seen. You're being spiritually recognized. You're not just attractive. You are magnetic, not because of outer beauty, but because your energy has become sacred space. Keep walking. Keep listening. Keep trusting. What's happening is bigger than you. This is not about being desired. It's about being remembered, not for who you pretended to be, but for who you truly are. And the world is finally beginning to see it. You don't walk through life the way you once did. You're no longer moving with emptiness, hoping love or attention will prove your worth. That quiet desperation that used to live in your steps is gone. You're not waiting to be seen or chosen anymore. Something inside you has changed. You've found your center. You've grown calm inside it. And now you move with peace that can be felt before you even speak. People feel it, especially women. They sense your stillness before they understand it. They don't know what it is, but something about you makes them feel safe, makes them want to open up. And that's not about charm or looks. It's about presence. It's the quiet strength you now carry. You no longer need anyone to make you feel whole, because you already are. You've been filled, not by attention, but by truth. You've stopped chasing, stopped performing, stopped trying to prove who you are. Now you walk with a kind of peace that doesn't ask for permission. You don't grab for anything. You don't force connection. You just are. And that's enough. That presence, that calm, that deep stillness, it speaks louder than anything you could say. It reaches others before you even make eye contact. It shifts the room without needing to take control. People open up more easily around you now. Conversations start before you ask. Smiles appear before you speak. Women lean in without knowing why. Their spirit recognizes something real. You're not asking for attention. You're not trying to impress. You're simply present. And that presence is unforgettable. You've become someone who doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to perform to be seen. You carry truth, and that truth is felt. You've grown into the kind of man who no longer takes up space just to be noticed. You've become the space itself. You're not here to dominate. You're here to reflect. You're a mirror that shows people who they really are. You don't need to say much. People feel you, and what they feel is not confusion or pressure. It's clarity. It's peace. It's the feeling of being around something safe and solid. Something that doesn't demand anything, but gives everything. You've become rooted. Not stiff, not cold, just grounded. You don't rush anymore. You don't chase conversations. You don't seek approval. But wherever you go, people adjust. Women shift their posture. They speak softer. Their guard drops. You don't force this. It happens because your energy speaks clearly. I'm not here to take. I'm here to see. And that is what people feel. That's why they trust you without knowing why. You are no longer a mystery people can't understand. You've stepped into alignment, and alignment doesn't need to be explained. It's felt. You don't stir chaos. You calm it. You don't confuse. You clarify. You don't pressure. You ground. And that's why people are drawn to you now. Because in your presence, they remember something they forgot. What it feels like to feel safe. This didn't happen overnight. This is the result of every storm you walked through without breaking. Every time you stayed silent when you could have defended yourself. Every time you chose growth over ego. Now you carry weight, not a burden, but a presence. It's the weight of truth, of strength, of stillness. People feel it in their body, in their breath, in their soul, and they remember you long after you leave. Not because of what you said, but because of how they felt around you. You don't need to convince anyone of who you are. You no longer need to be understood by everyone. You just need to stay true to what you carry. And what you carry now is unmistakable. It doesn't ask to be seen. It is seen. It doesn't beg for love. It is love. You've become the answer people didn't know they were waiting for. Not by shouting, not by pushing, but by standing in your truth. You are no longer the man looking to be found. You are the place others find themselves. You are not chasing meaning. You've become meaning. Every step you take now speaks for you, because your energy has become your message. You are no longer the voice asking to be heard. You are the silence that makes others stop and listen. You are no longer the question. You are the confirmation. And that confirmation will be felt again and again by every soul that crosses your path.
Have you ever wondered why life has been so hard for you, even though your heart has always been kind? Why you've had to walk through so much pain, rejection, betrayal, silence, and storms that most people would not survive? Why you were made to endure things that broke you open over and over again while others just watched? It's not because you were unlucky. It's not because you were weak. It's because you were chosen. And being chosen doesn't come with comfort. It comes with fire. It comes with pressure. It comes with pain that teaches, darkness that awakens, and silence that births strength. You were never just going through hard things. You were being prepared, shaped, transformed. All along, you were becoming someone this world would never be able to control. They laughed at you behind your back. They made fun of your quiet nature, twisted your words, and mocked your silence. They called you weak because you chose peace over chaos, love over hate, calm over noise. They saw your gentleness as an easy target. They thought you would break easily. How dare they? How dare they look at someone like you and think you wouldn't rise? How dare they mistake your patience for surrender? But they never understood what was really happening inside you. They never saw the power building beneath your quiet exterior. They never realized that while you were being quiet, the universe was not. The universe was watching, listening, keeping track, waiting for the moment when it would rise up on your behalf. And now that moment is here. They didn't just hurt you. They challenged something bigger. They tried to fight someone who was never standing alone. The universe chose you. And when someone tries to harm what the universe has chosen, they're not just causing pain. They're rewriting the very story they weren't meant to touch. But the story fights back. And when it does, it hits in ways no one can escape. You were never in their way. You were the reason the way even existed. They thought you were just another person. But you were the lesson they would one day regret learning too late. They declared war on a destiny they didn't understand. And now that destiny is responding, with consequences they can't control. Not just small losses, deep ones. Not just regret, collapse. Not just karma, a total reckoning. This is what happens when people try to silence the voice of someone who was sent to awaken others. You didn't come this far to stay hidden. You didn't suffer all that pain just to stay small. You didn't survive everything you did to blend in. You were always meant to stand out. And now it's time. You've been through the fire, and you didn't just survive. You were forged in it. You walk like someone who's been burned, healed, and rebuilt stronger. You move differently now. Your energy doesn't just enter the room, it shifts it. You speak less, but when you do, your words land harder. You don't fight with your hands anymore. You fight with presence. You fight with truth. You fight with the authority of someone who knows they were created for something more. They tried to delete you with gossip and rejection. They tried to erase your name with backhanded praise and subtle betrayals. But your name kept rising. They tried to wear you down with silence and indifference, hoping you'd break under the weight of feeling unwanted. But you didn't break. You became unbothered, untouchable, unstoppable. The truth is, you weren't just protected. You were being used. The universe turned you into a mirror, and now those who once tried to dim you are being forced to see their own reflection in your eyes. They see your face when their guilt creeps in. They hear your voice when they sit in silence. They feel your presence in the empty spaces where they once depended on your light. The universe didn't just lift you, it revealed them. They never wanted you strong. They wanted you silent. But now they're haunted by the very person they tried to break. You thought you were alone, but you were actually chosen. You thought you were forgotten, but you were being hidden until it was time. You thought your isolation meant you were unworthy, but it was the proof that you were being separated. Diamonds are created alone. Storms don't form in crowds. Greatness isn't born in comfort. You weren't left behind, you were being aligned. Chosen doesn't mean favored. It means called. It means refined. It means built for something so much bigger than the world ever told you. You don't need to explain why you're no longer available to people who once fed on your softness. They didn't love you. They used you. You were their lifeline, their peace, their support, their free therapist, their safe place. You were always there when they needed you, always ready, always pouring, even when you were empty. And why? Because you thought that was love. You thought being needed was the same as being valued. But it wasn't. It was survival for them, and sacrifice for you. They weren't attached to your soul. They were attached to what your soul gave them. You were the supply. They were the takers. And when you finally unplugged from that system, they didn't miss you. They missed the benefit. Your absence offended them not because they loved you, but because they lost access. You didn't leave with a bang. You didn't scream. You didn't post rants or throw blame. You just stopped giving. You stopped showing up. You stopped answering every call. You stopped pouring from your own pain. And suddenly, their reality started to crack. Because without you, their structure didn't hold up. Without you, they lost their rhythm. You weren't just a person to them. You were their emotional power source. And when you stopped clapping, they didn't know how to dance anymore. You were never allowed to be tired. Never allowed to say no. Never allowed to ask for what you gave so freely. You were supposed to just keep giving, keep serving, keep shining. But when you finally chose to rest, to reclaim your voice, to stop being a background character in your own life, they were offended. They called it selfish, cold, but it wasn't selfish. It was sacred. You weren't walking away from people. You were walking back to yourself. You kept asking, Am I being too harsh? Did I do the right thing? But the truth is, yes, you did. And no, you weren't harsh. You were finally honest. You spent so long being the safe place for people who would never protect you the way you protected them. You gave and gave until you forgot what it felt like to receive. And now that you're reclaiming your time, your energy, your worth, they call you difficult. But you're not difficult. You're just done. They never cared about you being okay. They cared about you being available. As long as you were pouring, they clapped. But the moment you asked to be poured into, they vanished. They liked you best when you were broken, because your brokenness made them feel strong. Your silence made them feel right. Your shrinking made them feel powerful. But now you've stopped shrinking. You've stopped explaining. You've stopped editing yourself to fit inside their small comfort zones. And that's why they're mad. Not because you hurt them, but because you stopped helping them hide from themselves. You stopped being their mirror, the one that reflected only the parts they wanted to see. And now, with your healing, they are exposed. They never wanted the real you. They wanted the version of you that made their flaws less visible. But now, you walk in wholeness. You speak with clarity. You live in truth. And your light is no longer dimmed to keep them comfortable. Let them call you names. Let them whisper. Let them project. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be real. You are no longer here to fix what people refuse to face. You are not selfish for resting. You are not cold for setting boundaries. You are not cruel for walking away from people who drained you. You are finally free. And freedom isn't always gentle. They say you've changed. But the truth is, you've returned to your strength, to your light, to your purpose. And if your growth makes them uncomfortable, let it. Growth is supposed to be uncomfortable. It shakes what needs to fall apart. It rattles what isn't rooted. It clears the way for what's real. You didn't steal your glow up. You earned it. Every scar, every night you cried, every time you chose peace over payback, every time you kept going when you wanted to give up, that wasn't weakness. That was power. You were never here to be someone's mirror. You were meant to be their wake-up call. And now that they're awake, it's not your job to comfort them back to sleep. Let them sit with their own reflection. Let them feel the silence you left behind. Let them finally face the reality you carried for so long. Your peace is not rude. Your no is not mean. Your boundaries are not cruel. They are sacred. They are necessary. They are yours. You owe no one an explanation for choosing yourself. You were the sun. They brought umbrellas. They loved your warmth, but hid from your fire. Now that you've left, they're cold. But that's not your problem anymore. Don't shrink again just to make them feel safe. Don't go back just because they're uncomfortable in your absence. You are not a second chance. You are not a backup plan. You are not a free lifeline for people who would watch you drown. You are not too much. You were just too generous with people who were too small to hold what you carried. Don't explain. Don't apologize. Don't turn around. Keep walking, because you're not the same anymore. You're not just surviving now. You are rising, and the world is going to feel it. Have you ever noticed how every time you wanted to say no but didn't, a small part of you went quiet inside, like your soul was backing into a dark corner? And the worst part is, they knew. They saw your discomfort. They knew your silence wasn't peace. But as long as you kept showing up, kept saying yes, kept performing for their comfort, they kept clapping. They called you kind, generous, easy to work with. But what they really meant was easy to control. You weren't agreeing out of love. You were agreeing out of fear. Fear of being seen as difficult. Fear of being alone. Fear of being judged. And they fed off that fear while smiling to your face. That version of you is gone. The one who broke their own heart to make sure no one else got upset. The one who apologized for existing. The one who explained every no with a nervous laugh. That version has been buried. And what rose from that place is someone quieter, stronger, clearer. Now, when you say no, it isn't the start of a conversation. It's not a request for permission. It's a full stop, a boundary. And some people don't know how to handle that. Not because they're confused, but because they lost control. They missed the version of you who was easy to bend. The version who filled every awkward pause with explanations, who gave and gave hoping to be loved in return. But you've stopped opening the door to people who only came to take. Now, your no doesn't come with reasons. It comes with peace. It comes with protection. It comes with power. You don't raise your voice. You don't soften your truth. You simply say no. And that's enough. Because when you explain too much, people learn that your boundaries are flexible, that your comfort can be negotiated, that your yes can be bought with guilt. Every time you over-explain, you hand them the tools to undo you. And every time you do that, you disappear a little, until one day, you don't recognize yourself, but not anymore. Now, your no is not cold. It's clear. It's calm. It's sacred. And the people who loved your chaos, your silence, your softness, they're starting to fall away. Let them. Let them call you different. Let them say you've changed. They're right. You have. You've stopped being a discount version of yourself. You've stopped being available to people who never gave anything real. You've stopped performing. And the moment you stop needing their approval, they stop clapping. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you stopped giving them what they were feeding on. Your need to be needed. You were never too much. You were never too loud. You were just surrounded by people who wanted you small. People who loved your wounds more than your healing. People who preferred you uncertain, so they could stay comfortable. But now, you don't tiptoe. You don't explain. You don't shrink to fit their comfort zones. You rise. You walk in knowing who you are, not asking for space, being the space. You are the table, the light, the shift, and the ones who can't handle that, they were never aligned with you. They were attached to your pain. And when the pain healed, so did their attachment. You used to give so much, hoping it would finally be enough. You used to believe that if you loved hard enough, were nice enough, quiet enough, someone would stay. But they weren't loving you. They were loving access to you, access to your kindness, your time, your energy, your silence. And now that it's no longer for sale, they're mad. Let them be mad. Let them leave. Because the people who truly see you, who respect your light, won't need to be convinced to stay. They will match your peace. They will match your growth. You don't have to be everything to everyone anymore. You only need to be everything to yourself. You're not here to keep people comfortable. You're here to be whole. And if your truth is too loud for them, let them cover their ears. If your boundaries are too firm, let them walk away. You were never meant to keep shrinking just so someone else could feel big. You are not mean. You are not cold. You are finally clear. And that clarity is not up for debate. You are not available for guilt. Not available for emotional discounts. Not available for being drained. You are here to be free. And the people who vanish when you shine were only ever holding onto your shadow. Your healing is not the problem. It's the light they refuse to step into. Your growth is not a threat. It's the mirror they didn't want to face. You choosing yourself is not selfish. It's sacred. And no one who truly loves you will ever need you to explain why your peace matters. So if you're still wondering if you're allowed to walk away from people who once needed your pain, this is your permission. You are. You don't owe them your silence. You don't owe them your story. You don't owe them your energy. You finally come home to yourself. Let them call it whatever they want. You know what it really is. It's healing. It's strength. It's freedom. And it's yours.